What's going on, guys? It's Red Bull Tanker, and welcome back to Axis and Allies 1914. This is turn 6. Alright, so it is the period between February and July 1917. Obviously, a couple things are going to happen this turn. As you saw in the last American video, we rolled for the French mutinies, which the results were France lost 1 infantry to the mutiny, and they are not going to be able to attack on this turn, which should give the Germans hopefully some reprieve down there. And then obviously the big news is going to be, spoiler, not really coming ahead, in April 1917, the U.S. will join the war. So when we get to the U.S. turn, the U.S. will now effectively be in the war, which will come with its own consequences for the Central Powers, but obviously there are some consequences for the Allies as well. All right, starting off, let's go over to the Ottomans. So the Austrians had 26 to spend. They bought 9 infantry, 3 in each territory. The Austrians did one thing of combat this turn, was they counterattacked the Russians here in Galicia with the majority of their forces along this entire section. And after the one round of combat, they killed 2 Russian infantry, 3 Russian artillery, and a Russian fighter at the loss of 3 infantry. So the Austrians kind of got lucky in this attack over here. And then on the non-combat, they moved they did try to move some forces in here to Romania to aid the Ottomans in trying to hold this sector before before next turn, when the Russians more than likely will pull out of the war. Obviously, we still have to roll the D6 at the end of the American turn. We'll roll the D6, and if Russia exits the war, they exit the war, which will be very likely. But the idea was that if the Ottomans could have held on to Romania when the Russians exited the war, the Ottomans could have been holding on to Romania, which would have given the Ottomans an extra 3 IPC, which is now not going to happen for them. So then at the end of the turn, after deploying in Budapest, Vienna, and Bohemia, the Austrians collected 24, saved 2. They had saved 2 from their purchases, so they bought 24. So they got 24 plus 2 for 26. Russia had 25 to spend. They bought 8 infantry altogether, saved 1 IPC. Being that this is probably going to be Russia's last turn, Russia decided to go on an FU sort of rampage in the east in order to tie up as much of the enemy as possible. So Russia launched an attack on Prussia. They launched an attack on Silesia, and then they also launched an attack on Romania. So in Silesia, the Russians went in with 2 infantry against the German infantry. The German infantry was destroyed along with a Russian infantry. So Russia took Prussia from the Germans, which was not good for the Germans. In Silesia, the Russians altogether, the Russians killed 9 German infantry and a German fighter, while the Germans inflicted 13 infantry losses on the Russians, 3 artillery losses, and a fighter as well. So 13 infantry, 3 artillery, and a fighter the Russians lost in their attack on Silesia. And then for the attack into Romania, there were 2 Austrians and 3 Ottoman infantry. Those were lost at a cost. The Austrians and the Ottomans were on point. All 5 units hit, So the Russians end up losing 3 infantry and 2 artillery for their troubles in taking Romania. And then the Russians deployed their forces in Poland and the Urals, and the Ukraine. And then at the end of the turn, they collected 28 plus 1 that they saved for 29 IPC. All right, now we finally come to the Germans. Germany had 30 IPC to spend. They are buying 7 infantry and 2 artillery and saving 1 IPC. Combats. We're taking these 2 infantry and trying to recapture Prussia. We're going to try and force the Russians out of Silesia. And then for our mandatory offensive, we are going to hit Belgium. So we'll go with the easy one and we'll go with the easy ones and we'll end on the bigger one. So first we will do Prussia. So we have R2 infantry at 2. Oh no, we missed. Against the Russian, who also missed. So Prussia will become contested. And unfortunately, this is going to cause some heartache for the Germans because they're not going to get that 3 IPC at the end of the turn before Russia drops out. And they kind of really need as much of the IPC as possible. So we'll flip that over. Okay, then we'll go to the mandatory. Then we'll kind of zigzag back and we'll go to Belgium. We have 5 infantry and 3 artillery against an infantry and an artillery. So we'll have 2 infantry at 2. Scored 1 hit. And then we have 3 infantry at 3. There's the second hit that we needed. But I will still roll the 3 artillery at 3 as well. For 2 more hits. So that's 4. Alright, then the Brits have an infantry and an artillery at 3. And they completely miss it. So, the British contingent in Belgium is gone. Whoops. Germany will get the full 2 IPC back for Belgium. Though I don't know if that's actually a good thing or a bad thing, honestly. Oh, good. Any extra IPC we can get is helpful. All right, so non-combats. So what we're going to do, we are getting that reprieve from the French. So we are going to push all of our forces from the Ruhr into Alsace. Just because I fear for the capital, we are going to push these units back to the capital. I don't want the Brits trying to get through the 2 minefields and try and do a landing in Berlin. Oh, I forgot. I forgot the attack on Silesia. So I have this set up. So we have 11 infantry and 9 artillery going in against 6 infantry and 6 artillery. I did move that over onto a battle board here. So let's see how that goes. Wow, I was really jumping ahead on that one. Okay, so the Germans first have 2 infantry at 2. No hits. Then we will have 9 infantry at 3. So here's the first 5. Ouch, only 1 hit. Oof, that's not good for the Germans. And then here are the remaining 4 for only 2 hits. Good Lord, the Germans. All right, the German artillery at 3. First 5. 1, 2. That's 3 hits. So that's 6. And then the other 4. 2 more. So the Germans walk away with 8 hits. And then the Russians. All right, so they'll have 12 altogether for 3. So we'll just roll them. So the first 5. 1, 2, 3. The next 5. Ooh. No hits. And then the remaining 2. They got another hit. All right, so the Germans nailed 8 hits to the Russians 4. So that will mean, okay, so 8 for the Russians. So thinking very carefully, that'll be, let's do 3 of the artillery. So that'll leave 1, 2, 3. So that'll leave 2 on this one plus this one. So that'll become a green. And then and then 5 infantry off the Russians. Okay, and then for the Germans, losing 4, we'll just lose 4 infantry. Okay, and unfortunately, Silesia will still be contested, which is kind of good, kind of bad, because Germany really could have used that IPC right at the end. All right, so then I already did the non-combats. Trying to think here if there's any other non-combats I want to do. I think if I'm going to try something, if I remember correctly, and I'm going to make the move and I left. I got to remember before I start videos, I got to grab the rule book. I think subs can get past navies completely undetected, like nothing stops subs from going through. So honestly, what I'm going to try and do is go 1, 2. Bring this German sub out here. And then, like I said, we will, I think that's it for that. So then we'll deploy. Like I said, we are doing 7 infantry. And 2. There we go. I thought I was out of artillery pieces. 7 infantry and 2 artillery in the Ruhr. Alright, so then at the end of the turn, we will collect 25 plus the one that we saved for 26. So that'll be it for the Germans right now, guys, and we'll see you next time for the British. So until then, guys, as always, take care.